Oh, I don't like that. All right. So, 1 second. All right. So, with this one, 1 second. All right. So, all right. I'm just making sure. My brother's sleeping in the other room, so I don't want to be too loud. All right. So, with this one, this video is talking about. So, when approaching life, I think there's these fundamental pillars that we have or that you can operate from as almost a way of operating or a toolbox almost or like a process for handling life, right? Whether it be finances, health, relationships, career, like whatever. If you can have almost like a system in place to how you approach things, I think that can be really helpful, right? And so this one is, I think there's different fundamental pillars. And then on top of each pillar, there's stacks or layers, right? And so I think that, I think that one of the pillars is, well, this is one. So I feel like there's pillars that you need all the pillars, and I'm still trying to figure out how many there are and exactly what they are. But I know for sure that at least one of the pillars, whether it's the fundamental one, where everything's built from, or whether it's just one of the main pillars, but one of the main pillars is definitely perspective, right? And it's your attitude, your mindset, kind of that whole thing. And obviously the differences in those words, but especially feels like in today's world, they're all kind of conglomerated in together, right? And so, number one, your perspective is your reality. Like, know that, because like whatever you approach, then whenever there's a breakup or a breakdown or something, or whether there's no breakdown, you just don't know, like you're gonna go try this new thing, right? Know that your perspective is your reality. Okay. Another way to say that would maybe be mindset is everything, something like that, right? And so, oh, okay, there's a vehicle that just went by. But when you have that, all right, all right. So, perspective is everything, right? And then I'll give some examples of that, right? So, let's say that you are, right? Let's say that you're on a sales call, right? And you think it's going good. You think you're going to close the guy, and he ends up not closing, right? So you can either look at that. You can look at that in a couple of ways, right? You can either say, "Man," you can say like, "I'm done with sales. Like I hate sales. Like it doesn't work, or whatever, or like this is just too hard, whatever, right?" Like something like that, right? You could have a negative response, or you could have a positive response and say like, "You know what? I didn't get that sale." You can even like identify if you messed up. Like I said this wrong. I need to do this better, or whatever. I dropped the ball. But you can frame it in that. But that was actually a win because I did it. I put in the rep, right? Now, be careful. You don't use that as an excuse for low performance, right? But when you can do that, I think it really shifts your emotions. So not only do you feel better, which I think is valuable. I mean, who doesn't want to feel better? But then also, when you, besides feeling better, I think it also helps you elevate your performance. Because I feel like feeling better and performance, they're both separate from each other because you can do one without the other, right? But I think they also build each other up, right? And so, and they also bring each other down a bit. And so your perspective is your reality, right? So both of those are true. It's just your interpretation of it, right? Okay. And so I just think that so many things in life, we have things that happen to us. We interpret or label those things. And then and then like we derive our emotions or like the conclusion, the meaning we ascribe. That is what comes from our interpretation or a label, right? And so, number one, it seems like a lot of the things that we might label as problems aren't actually problems at all. So, if we can simply reframe what we're labeling them as, we can like eliminate the problem. Okay, for things that aren't actually problems from our perspective or like getting in the way of what we want to do, we can still see it as a problem. But when we shift how we think about it, I think it frees up so much emotional baggage that we carry with us on a daily basis for so many little things, right? Like, so number one, I feel like with the perspective, Stop thinking about the things as that stop labeling things as problems that aren't actually problems, right? And when I say problems, I guess maybe annoyances or agitations or things like that, right? So, and let me try to think of an example. This might be for an annoyance. And I think annoyances are bad because when you're annoyed constantly, I feel like that number one, I don't feel good, which I mean, not that I'm trying to feel good, right? Because eating candy or ice cream feels good, right? But when I'm saying feel good is like feeling good in tandem with better performance, right? Not only is it better quality of life, but also increases your performance, which again, they both work in tandem. So, what I'm saying is with if someone like pulls out in front of you, let's say you're driving, right? You have multiple responses, like two main ones though, right? Like, be really upset with them, curse them out or something, right? All people are bad drivers or like they don't care or whatever, right? And honestly, that's true. If that's what you think, that's true. Like, I mean, of course, the Henry Ford quote, "Whether you think you can or you can't, you're right." Right. And so this was kind of, and now let me here I'll quickly finish the example. So you can either think that they're an idiot and like that, okay, that's true, or the other approach or response could be nothing. Like you don't need to say it's a good thing, right? But it's nothing. Like it's literally like lifting up your arm per se, right? And so when you can almost think about it that way, because like I guess when you think about it, we would label that as a problem, right? Or a bad thing. But is why? Why is it? Is it really? I mean, granted, if there is danger involved with like risk of crashing, then sure. Still, there's nothing you can do about it. So it's not a whole lot gained in dwelling on it, giving that situation or that person space in your head, right? Um, so either way, I think the good response would be, it doesn't matter, right? And when it doesn't matter, it's okay. Like you don't need to feel upset about it. Okay. Like, so what? Maybe that's what you could do. I think there's a couple different techniques or things you could do to implement a it doesn't matter approach. Maybe they were trying to get home to a family member who's hurt or something, um, something like that, um, or maybe nothing. Like, and so I just like, granted, I'm not driving yet, but I'll be real. I do not understand people's agitations with people on the road. Now, I probably once I'm exposed to that and on a continual basis, then I could have a little more context or perspective, but I'm not going to allow that to like get me upset every time we go in the car, right? And so I think that's just why perspective is so important, right? Because you feel better along the way, so you enjoy the moments more, I think. And you have better performances when you have your head in the right space. Because if you're just like bitter or apathetic or something, I feel like that lowers your performance. Now I agree when you have like I don't just care at this point, like I'm just so upset, like I don't care. I'm just gonna send it like imperfect action all the way. Like I don't care about what people think. I think that's valuable, that's helpful. But I wouldn't choose that. Like I would just rather be focused, like have a good perspective. And one second. It's like this plane. Alright, and so that was just the thought today is your perspective is your reality. And what's so cool about that is that like I think you can build a whole life around that, right? Even Christian or not, right? And I'm a Christian, but I just think even within Christianity, like your perspective is your reality. It's so valuable. And I think there's objective things outside that, but like I've just been here, like that's just kind of been a really big game changer for me. I didn't really realize how much control we have over how we feel and what we do, and especially over the latter, right? And so, anyway, so that's just been like something like really powerful for me that I've been thinking about is how I'm going to operate all things as your perspective is your reality. For example, maybe one last example, my brother and I were at a youth group, right? And this was like for younger adults, like young adults, like maybe mid to late 20s, and we're like 16 and like 18, right? And honestly, it felt pretty awkward. And honestly, we kind of let ourselves like, this isn't good. We got to get out. But honestly, if you think about it, what's the worst thing? Like, we chose to have we got to get out of here. This is awkward. Whatever. They don't like us. Whatever. Right. And that's somewhat maybe true if we think that. But then if it was the case where I feel like if we switched it where it's like, no, this could be a cool deal, right? Like, I don't know. I guess felt like we got to make the choice and we did. And we left. Well, no, I mean we stayed for the thing, but we're not going back. But either or would have been true. Like I feel like we could decide. It wasn't that it was awkward, or that it wasn't going to work out, or that whatever. We chose that thing, right? And I'm not like regretting it that much. I don't think it had that much of an impact. So, but what I'm saying is it was kind of up to us. Like if it's the we don't care what people think sort of deal, not that you're whatever, where you're just like, yeah, not an extreme, but like I'm just kind of thinking about this in my head as well. But I think we need to like question or be aware of everything that we're labeling, especially when we label something as good or bad, right? Because every time we label something as bad, I feel like that adds the weight we carry, right? And it's also really easy to have a victim mentality and make excuses from that, right? When most of the things are either good or neutral. Well, most things I'd say are neutral. Like it is what it is. Like it just happened, right? Hormozy talks about how with the weather, we say that the sunshine is generally good and the raininess is generally bad, when in reality they both just are, and we're ascribing meaning or value on them like that, right? And so I guess it's up to us whether we decide the weather is whether the sun is good or whether the rain is bad. And when we have that and we know that, and we have that tool in our tool belt, that weapon in our arsenal for how we approach life, I feel like that can be super powerful. So that was the thought for today. Probably much more to come on this because it's so mind blowing. I will say a lot of this has come from Alex Hormozy and Gary John Bishop. The whole the line itself I heard from Nick Wood. Um, your perspective is your reality. So good thoughts.